October 4th, 1957, an event took place that perhaps completely changed the fate of the world. For the first time in human history, a country succeeded in sending a functioning device into space. Russia successfully launched a satellite called Sputnik 1 into Earth's orbit without any malfunction. That day, while the whole world watched in shock, major countries like the United States realized that this was the beginning of a technological war. The beep-beep signals coming from the satellite sounded almost like an alarm to America. After this date, a long-lasting space race, also known as the Cold War, began. Some countries failed, while others achieved great success. Today, together with you, we will take a look at this space race and the strange events experienced by Russian cosmonauts during that period. Before we start our video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and leave a comment. If you're ready, let's head into the darkness of space. As we said at the beginning, on October 4th, 1957, Russia became the first country to send a man-made device into space. America was shocked that another nation had achieved such a feat before them and began working at full speed to catch up. The US took this situation as a matter of national pride. After 1 year, in 1958, NASA was established, and America officially entered the race. Of course, the Soviets didn't sit idle during this time. In November 1957, they sent a dog named Laika into space aboard the Sputnik 2 spacecraft. Once again, the Soviet Union made history. Although Laika, unfortunately, could not return to Earth, humanity had sent a living being into space for the first time. 3 years after NASA was founded, in 1961, the Soviet Union raised the bar even higher by sending the first human into space. The cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin successfully reached space with his capsule Vostok 1. At that time, Russia was far ahead of the United States, perhaps 3 or 4 steps ahead in the race. Also, many people still confuse who the first person in space was. Some think it was an American astronaut, others think it was Neil Armstrong. But the first human to go to space was the Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin. When Gagarin first went into space, he said, "The Earth is beautiful." And these words were written into history in golden letters. Of course, the United States could not accept this defeat easily, and at that time, President John F. Kennedy gave a speech in 1961. "Before this decade is out, we will send a man to the moon and return him safely to Earth." This sentence attracted enormous attention and caused major discussions in public opinion at the time, because certain groups believed such a thing was impossible and that the astronauts were sacrificing their lives for the sake of a race. But the president was absolutely determined. After this speech, NASA launched the Apollo program. For 8 years, countless studies, developments, and test flights were carried out. Then, in 1969, the spacecraft Apollo 11 was launched, and it successfully landed on the surface of the moon. Finally, humanity was going to take its first step on the moon, and that person would be Neil Armstrong. As Armstrong descended the ladder of the spacecraft and reached the last step, he said a phrase that would forever be engraved in everyone's minds for centuries to come and become one of the most famous quotes in the world. "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." This phrase has become the first thing that comes to everyone's mind whenever the topic of space is brought up. The first day humans reached the moon became the turning point of the space race. The United States, as the first country to reach the moon, left behind all of the Soviet Union's previous achievements and officially took the lead in the race. But the Soviets continued to improve themselves day by day. They began constructing the world's first space station. In 1971, they launched Salyut 1 into space, officially building the first space station in human history. During this race, both American astronauts and Russian cosmonauts pushed the limits of technology. Both sides made unique sacrifices and suffered painful losses. Rockets that exploded during launch, failed landings, and lost cosmonauts. Each of these events greatly expanded humanity's knowledge about space. As the Cold War neared its end, a form of space diplomacy slowly began to emerge between the two superpowers. Especially in 1975, the Apollo-Soyuz mission became the first official proof that this rivalry had turned into cooperation. American and Soviet spacecraft docked together in orbit, and the astronauts of both nations met, hugged, and shook hands. To be realistic, this space race was initially about getting ahead in weapons technology, but over time, nations began to come to their senses. And instead of competing, they started to cooperate, expanding the boundaries of all humanity and of our world. Even though every astronaut in this race showed great courage, the Russian cosmonauts were perhaps the bravest of them all. Because from the very first day of the Soviet space program, they faced countless difficulties. Some of these incidents were kept secret, while others reached the public. But as for those hidden ones, many legends and conspiracy stories began to spread among people. One of the most well-known and tragic incidents was what happened to cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov. Komarov took part in the Soyuz 1 mission and was performing his duties successfully. However, an unexpected problem occurred later, and unfortunately, this led to the Russian cosmonaut's death. As we mentioned, while the cosmonaut was completing his mission successfully and preparing to return to Earth, he realized that there was a malfunction in the parachute system. But it was too late to fix it. The parachutes didn't open, and the spacecraft crashed at full speed into the ground. Vladimir Komarov went down in history as the first death in space exploration. This incident caused a major shock in the Soviet space program and led to a complete review of safety protocols. Another fatal incident occurred in 1971 during the Soyuz 11 mission. During this mission, the crew became the first to successfully dock and stay aboard the Salyut 1 space station. However, during re-entry to Earth, a pressure problem occurred in the capsule, and the 3 cosmonauts on board suffocated. Their names were Georgy Dobrovolsky, Vladislav Volkov, and Viktor Patsayev. As you can see, the Soviet Union lost many cosmonauts during its space program, and these losses deeply affected the morale of the cosmonauts, the trust of the people in the program, and the motivation of the teams working behind the scenes. Because of this, the Soviet Union simply could not afford to fail again. And even if it did, they had to hide it from the public. It was at this exact point that many people began to frequently mention the lost cosmonaut theory. According to these theories, during the space race, the Soviets lost not only several spacecraft but also many cosmonauts in the deep, dark void of space, and were never heard from again. Some theorists believe that before launching Yuri Gagarin, the first successful cosmonaut, the Soviet Union had already tried to send several others into space. But all those missions failed. However, to avoid public backlash and to not appear weak against the United States, Russia kept these missions a secret. The origins of these claims date back to 1960, when 2 Italian brothers, Achille and Giovanni Giudica Cordiglia, first brought them up. These brothers were amateur radio operators, listening to signals coming from space near a station in Turin. One day, during one of their usual sessions, they claimed to have heard a human voice, someone calling for help. The recorded signals contained haunting words. "Is this a test? Please respond. Oxygen is running out, I can't breathe." These recordings caused a massive reaction around the world. Later, the brothers shared several other recordings. In one, you could hear heartbeats. In another, breathing sounds. In one particular recording, a female cosmonaut's voice could be clearly heard screaming, "I'm burning! I'm burning!" This event spread across the world and continues to be one of the most discussed space mysteries even today. Many believe that the voice belonged to a test pilot woman who went into space before Valentina Tereshkova, but the mission failed. Of course, Russia has never made an official statement about this to this day. Moreover, you can still find these recordings online today with a simple search. Anyway, besides those who believed the brothers, there were also many who thought the two were frauds, creating fake stories to gain attention and money from governments. Because at that time, the Soviet Union's ability to manipulate public perception was truly impressive. They completely denied all accusations and stated that they had no hidden casualties in their space program. However, even though it's uncertain whether they really hid any lost cosmonauts, it's a proven fact that they concealed many failed launches and missions during that era. That's why many people didn't believe their denials. For example, even during their test flights on Earth, many people lost their lives, and these events were also hidden from the public, only coming to light years later. So let me ask you this. Do you think the Soviets were telling the truth about the lost cosmonauts? Because as you know, at that time they were in a fierce space race with the US. and some believe that America deliberately spread false stories to damage the Soviets' reputation and morale, trying to get ahead in the race. To be honest, I think both sides were partly right. I believe there truly were lost cosmonauts drifting silently in the vast emptiness of space. But I also believe the US exaggerated these stories to make the Soviets look worse. Ultimately, we still don't officially know whether those cosmonauts really existed. Maybe one day, they'll reveal the truth and finally put an end to this mystery that has haunted us for decades. And that's it. The great race between two superpowers and the price that came with it. Many people lost their health, their families, their money, and even their lives during this incredible competition. Yet, thanks to their sacrifices, today we have advanced technology and so much knowledge about space. It's truly both heartbreaking and fascinating at the same time. But that's all from me for today. I'm really curious. What do you know or think about this mysterious topic? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one and love having real science talks with you all. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. It really helps us keep exploring the mysteries of the universe together. See you in the next mysterious story. Take care and stay curious.